Hello everyone and welcome to Poser's Full Movie Recaps. Our story today is about a group of outcast teenagers who dabbled into witchcraft to hurt their enemies, not knowing of the severe consequence they are about to face. The film begins with three young women chanting in front of a witch altar they made, asking for the deities to grant them some powers. Fast forward to Sarah Bailey, a sullen teenager who lost her mother at childbirth. Her family used to live in San Francisco, California, but her father decided to move his family to Los Angeles in a huge secluded old mansion. Upon arriving at their new home, her dad and stepmother start to unbox their stuff, so Sarah follows their lead and sees where she can help. Suddenly, a man shows up at the open door while holding a snake, says that he found it out back, and asks Sarah if she wants it. She screams for her dad, who immediately chases the man out of their property. The next day, Mr. Bailey drives Sarah to school and asks if she really wants to attend since she doesn't have her uniform yet. But Sarah is determined to start anew. She dismissed her father's concern and tells him not to worry. Being the new girl, everyone is staring at her as she enters her new school. Meanwhile, the three young women from the beginning, which are Nancy, Bonnie, and Rochelle, talk about a prediction that something is coming today. During French class, Bonnie notices Sarah balances a pencil on its top and makes it spin without touching it. Bonnie immediately alerts her friends of Sarah's potential, but they initially snob her at the science lab. At lunch break, the school jock named Chris approaches Sarah and warns her to stay away from the weird trio. He describes Nancy as a major tease, Bonnie as having scars all over her body, and Rochelle just as bad. When Sarah asks why she needs to avoid them, Chris tells her that they are rumored to be witches. He then invites her to watch football practice, and when she comes, the trio approaches her and invites her to come with them on a shopping trip. Sarah initially declines the invitation, but eventually gives in as she feels curious and cautious at the same time with the outcasts group. On the way to the shops, Nancy notices the scar on her wrist and asks about it. Sarah reluctantly answers that she slit it herself, and Bonnie comments that she even did it the right way. The trio leads her into an occult shop, which seems their way to test Sarah's reaction to the supernatural and witchcraft. She then buys a book and some candles, and was astonished at how the shopkeeper guessed some details about her mother. When they leave, the man with the snake from earlier shows up and starts bothering her again. He says that he has to talk to Sarah because he had a dream about her being dead, but Sarah is scared of the unknown person, so she starts running to get away from the man. When the man follows her as he shouts that he is in touch with him, a car hit him that causes him to lose his life. The trio pulls Sarah and brings her to the wood where they usually hang out. They assure her that it's not Sarah's fault, and believes that their combined concentration caused it to happen. They excitedly tell her that since there are four of them now, this time, Manon will probably listen. Still confused, Sarah asks if Manon is a god, and Bonnie answers no because Manon is older and more powerful. Nancy explains that it's all about everything and not just God and the devil, as they are just minor players compared to Manon. As they continue their chat, the trio figured that Sarah is a natural witch and the girl didn't even get upset or denies this. But when Nancy tells her that they can make everything better through magic, Sarah refuses to talk about it and leave. Later, Sarah meets with Chris and shares a kiss, but when Chris invites her to his house, Sarah refuses and apologizes for not being able to come with him. The next day, the trio teasingly asks Sarah how was her night, which confuses the girl. Nancy explains that Chris spread the rumor that they slept together, and she's the worst he ever had. Sarah denies this, but it doesn't matter though, because now, Sarah's reputation is ruined and everyone thinks she's a loose woman. When she tries to talk to Chris, his friends intervene and the man tells her publicly that she should stop begging for his attention, which humiliates Sarah and further ruins her. In swimming class, Rochelle gets constantly bullied by Laura, the most popular girl in school. She tries to confront her and asks why she's being mean, but the racist girl answers that she just hates people of color. Somewhere else, Bonnie is at the hospital with her mother for treatment, and the girl has to undergo an experimental excruciating procedure to lessen the huge burn scar on her back. Even though the scar is usually hidden behind her clothing, it is a constant reminder of her painful experience and struggles in life. Meanwhile, Nancy reaches her trailer home near the woods where she lives with abusive parents, which causes a constant battle in her mind. The next morning, the trio shows their support towards Sarah, as the girl is deeply affected by Chris's false accusation which is spreading too fast to the school's population. She goes with them on a countryside trip to temporarily escape the recent events, and the four bond through a shared ritual that unites and connects them on a higher level. They gather and invoke the spirit of their god Manon, and cast spells that seem to be harmless. They individually wish for something, and Sarah hopes to be loved more by Chris, which seems to be a love spell. Rochelle wants to not feel hate, especially for racist people like Laura, or more like the other way around as she truly hates her. Bonnie wishes to be beautiful inside and out, seemingly hoping for her scar to go away, while Nancy wants nothing else but to get rid of her stepdad, and drinks the rest of the concoction they made. The next day, they notice that Chris has been continuously looking at Sarah, and after class, he tries to apologize to the girl for ruining her reputation. It seems that the girl's wish is starting to materialize, and they harmlessly take advantage of the man. On Bonnie's next treatment, her scars magnificently heal on their own, which makes the girl ecstatic for not having the reminder of her past. Laura is struck by mysterious hair loss fulfilling Rochelle's desire for revenge. While in Nancy's case, she was granted immense power that make it possible for her stepdad to have a fatal heart attack by her will alone. Nancy and her mother take the money from the insurance company, and they excitedly move to a nice high-rise apartment. The group experiments more on their magic and is able to levitate Rochelle in the air. Their bonds grow stronger as time goes by, and enjoy the powers that they discover within themselves. The group relishes the control they have in their life now, as well as the others that fall to be their victims. When they try transfiguration and glamour magic, Sarah is able to easily change her hair blonde, which clearly shows that she's the most powerful among her coven. Sometime later, Chris visits Sarah at her house at 3 in the morning, professing his love and telling her that he can't stop thinking about her and is unable to eat. Sarah dismisses the guy and says that she's not ready for a deeper commitment, realizing that things are getting out of hand with Chris. She then goes to the occult shop in town to gather ingredients, so she can undo the love spell she did on Chris. The shopkeeper informs her that it can't be reversed, and she just has to let run its course. She further explains that true magic is neither black nor white because it's like nature, loving and cruel at the same time. The only good or bad depends on the caster's intention, but life always keeps a balance on its own, and whatever the caster send, it can come back 3 times more potent. With the shopkeeper's cryptic words, they didn't notice that Nancy finds a book titled Invoking the Spirits, which makes the girl determined to try it as she wants more power for herself. Later, she asks her friends to perform a ritual near the beach, and while at it, Nancy gets struck by lightning boosting her powers to a higher level. The following morning, the other girls see Nancy walking on water, with beached sharks and other dead animals littering the shore. While Nancy feels ecstatic with her newfound powers, Sarah is horrified by the result of what they did. She feels remorse for Chris getting humiliated, even though all she wanted was for him to like her. She expresses her concern to her friends, calling Bonnie an aggressive narcissist since her scar miraculously healed. But the girl just retorts that she spends most of her life looking like a monster, so she has a right to enjoy being beautiful for once. When Sarah continues to argue with her friends, Nancy mocks her, calls her a coward, and laughs at her. At school, Rochelle starts to feel bad when she finds Laura sobbing in the bathroom, and freaking out for losing her blonde hair. Chris continues to pursue Sarah, and the girl eventually relents to go to dinner with him. But when she tries to make him see reasons, Chris just ignores her word and obsessively continues to show his love to Sarah. When Sarah rejects him and leaves, the man chases her and tries to hurt her. Sarah is able to fight him and escape, but the young woman is clearly traumatized by what just happened. She goes to her friends for comfort, and Nancy, devoid of empathy, uses a glamour spell to make herself look like Sarah. She attempts to fool Chris into getting intimate with her at a party, but the real Sarah interrupts them and pleads with Nancy to just leave with her. But it becomes obvious that Nancy's desire to control Chris is mixed with unrequited feelings, and reveals that the only reason Chris likes Sarah is because of a love spell. Chris becomes upset about being fooled, so he accuses Nancy of being jealous, which angers the witch. She then magically throws the school jock out of the window, which causes Chris to lose his life. Later, Sarah confides in her dad of her deep regrets for Chris's demise, but dismisses her dad when he ultimately asks for details. As nightmares continue to plague Sarah, she decides to attempt to bind Nancy from doing more harm to others. The next day, she realizes that her spell didn't work when her coven turns on her. She tells them that she's out, but Nancy answers that betraying one's coven would have traditionally been met with a death sentence. Before the trio leave, Bonnie and Rochelle ask her how she's been sleeping, meaning that they are the ones causing her nightmares, and Sarah is horrified by what she learns. After school, she seeks the shopkeeper's help and tells her everything that happens. Lirio takes her to the forbidden room in the shop, and shows Sarah a temple built in a place of power. She explains that she knew her mother to be a potent witch, and she passes on her immense natural power to Sarah. Lirio encourages her to invoke the spirit herself, but before they can continue chanting, a loud explosion interrupts their ritual. Scared, Sarah decides not to continue on the ritual and quickly runs to leave the shop, and when she reaches her home, she learns that her family flew back to San Francisco because they thought that Sarah ran away. She then sees the news on TV that her family tragically perished in a plane accident, and when she goes outside, she finds that everywhere is littered with snakes, spiders, and rats. It's a clear manifestation of her fears conjured by her supposed friends, and it works magnificently as it extremely scares Sarah. Everywhere she goes, snakes and rats follow her, and when she hides in the bathroom and screams for help, Nancy shows up and calls her pathetic. Sarah is shocked by how far her friends will go to torment her, and after the snakes are gone, she confronts her friends and asks where her family is. Nancy tells her that she will see them soon, as she is going to finish herself that night. Sarah refuses to do anything, and the malevolent trio starts floating in the air. Sarah begs them to stop what they are doing, but Nancy mocks her and starts chanting with Bonnie and Rochelle. Nancy drops a paper which will serve as Sarah's confession on killing Chris, and slashes both Sarah's wrists with a knife. Sarah is in denial and tells herself it's not real, but Nancy just laughs and asks why she's still bleeding. Sarah runs to her room and starts crying, while Rochelle questions Nancy for her actions, as she thought they're just going to scare Sarah and not finish her. When Nancy threatens Rochelle, Bonnie pulls the girl to check on Sarah, which saves her from Nancy's wrath. Meanwhile, Sarah lying on her back starts to invoke the spirits by herself, and it seems working when her wounds close, and she feels a new surge of power within her. She scares off Bonnie and Rochelle by showing them glamour in a mirror, with Bonnie's face completely covered with burn scars, and Rochelle losing her hair like Laura. The duo immediately runs outside and leaves, fearing more retaliation from Sarah. Nancy starts looking for Sarah, but it shocked her when the girl emerges from the mirror, and asks if she frightens her. Sarah is able to show Nancy that she's extremely stronger than her, and after a complete showdown, Sarah successfully binds Nancy's power forever, so she can prevent her from causing harm to anyone else and herself. Sometime later, Bonnie and Rochelle find their powers gone, and visit Sarah to attempt reconciliation. But Sarah refuses and wants nothing to do with them, and tells the duo that Manon took their powers because they abused them. They scornfully mutter that Sarah must have lost her powers too, but Sarah then makes a tree branch nearly fall on them. She warns them to be careful not to end up like Nancy, as the girl has been committed to a psychiatric hospital, delusional, her powers bound, and strapped to a bed as she desperately insists she can fly. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. You can also hit the notification bell and like the video to help the channel out. Thank you.